Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for the Crisscross Virtual Challenge webinar series. Human Kinetics is happy to be one of the sponsors of this innovative and exciting virtual challenge, and I know you're going to enjoy today's presentation. You will get a follow-up email from us tomorrow that will include the recording of today's webinar, and we'll also have information on how to enter a drawing for a free ebook from Human Kinetics to help with training for your next big run. But now let's get the webinar going. So let me turn it over to Jan Seeley, co-director of the Christie Clinic Illinois Marathon Race Weekend and creator of the Crisscross Virtual Challenge.
Hey, Sue, good to see you. Thank you so much to Human Kinetics and Sue for being along with us on this journey, which, you know, now is, we can see the end line. We're about 6 weeks left. Before I introduce our great guests and our exciting topic today, I always like to start with just a little bit of housekeeping. So just a reminder for anybody who registered for the Crisscross this year, so in January, February, or even in early March, your swag will be shipped out probably within the next couple weeks. We really kind of kept things pretty close to the vest for this event, so we only order what we need. And so the hats, the beanies, and the quarter zips are being embroidered. The brick shirts are being screened for that next set. So just if you agree to get your stuff down at Body and Soul, you'll get an email from me letting you know it's a green light to go pick up. If you're somebody that we're shipping to, then that will come directly to your porch or your mailbox through the regular post office. So hang in there with that. Okay, big tease, big tease. As I said, as we wind down the last 6 weeks of the Crisscross Virtual Challenge, I am so excited to tell you that we're going to be launching another virtual challenge. Full details will be revealed on our next webinar, which is going to be Tuesday, March 30th. You're going to love it. I've already vetted the idea. Anybody who emails me or calls me and says, I'm done with my challenge, what's next? I said, well, I have this idea up my sleeve. What do you think? So I think you're all going to love it. Registration will open May 1st. We want to make sure that we've got the Crisscross wound down. So anyway, so we're excited about that, and we will leak details to you guys first on March 30th. Because of the nature of today's subject matter, we think you guys might have a lot of questions. If you do, please just use the chat feature, and Sue Outlaw is going to man that, and she will pop in as the time permits for our two guests to answer your questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our special guest today for our webinar that we've titled Hidden Gems in the Prairie State, the coolest places in Illinois you never knew existed. And as I've admitted many, many times in these webinars, I've lived in Champaign-Urbana since 1987, and honest to goodness, most of the towns that I have virtually traveled through and written about in the guides, not only have I never been to, didn't even know the names of the towns. Now I am so in love with our state and all the places that I want to go. So we're excited to learn about, and we're not necessarily going to be focusing on the stuff that's in the guidebook. This is going to be new stuff, some new content for all you guys. So with us today, Cory Jobe, the gorgeous bald man with us this morning. Nice. Is that natural, or do you have to do that special every day?
It's pretty natural these days.
Well, you know, it's funny how some people look terrific bald. I don't think I'm one of those people, but you look terrific, Cory.
Nice little glow there, Jan, on my head.
Very nice. Cory was appointed president and CEO of the Great Rivers and Routes Tourism Bureau in November 2020, so he's in a new position. Jobe comes to the Bureau after a distinguished career spanning more than 20 years in various roles inside Illinois state government, where he most recently served as the state director of the Illinois Office of Tourism. The Great Rivers and Routes Tourism Bureau region is the only place where the Mother Road of Route 66 and the Great Road meet. The region celebrates 3 of the nation's great rivers, the Mississippi, the Missouri, and the Illinois, alongside famous roads, history, and small town charm encompassing a 6-county region in southwest Illinois. We did not go through there for the Crisscross, so I think we're going to really get some interesting gems. Outside of work, Cory serves on the board of directors for Equality Illinois. Welcome, Cory.
Thank you.
And a familiar face to all of us here in Champaign-Urbana, our very own Jayne DeLuce. She's the president and CEO of Visit Champaign County and the director of the Visit Champaign County Foundation. Jayne works alongside an awesome, small but mighty team of 7 to promote the greater Champaign County area as a destination to visit, work, and live. Her background includes the Atlanta Olympics, working parks and recreation in Florida and Illinois, heading up a sports festival, and 2 gigs with the U of I Department of Campus Rec. As chair of the Illinois Council of Conventions and Visitors Bureaus and doing the Crisscross Virtual Challenge herself, Jayne is ready for a post-pandemic Illinois road trip to visit all of the hidden gems that she hasn't seen yet either. And she's passionate about people and all things community. Jayne, I want to start, first of all, welcome to both of you. I want to start with the spotlight on you because you have been one of our participants. And not only did you recently complete your solo north to south journey, and congratulations, but you also did something that is a very rare feat. I don't know if this is the same as getting a hole-in-one or breaking 100 in golf or whatever, but you did something that many active people aspire to and never reach, and that is a consecutive streak of moving your body. Jayne, and I hope you continued it, she just completed a 365 cycle, so an entire year where every day she walked. So right about this time last year, as the pandemic was creeping in, she committed to something that she's probably never done before. So congratulations on that. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the Crisscross. How did you find it? How did you like the guide? Just what would you share with us?
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate that. And I think the best thing about the Crisscross Challenge is it's something to hold you accountable. So as you mentioned, I did make a goal to try to walk every day. It wasn't going to be for a year. At the time, it was just, we started this pandemic. Everybody was stressed. We were trying to figure out how we could do things. And I said, I just need to walk to clear my mind. And so then we moved home. And I think that was the biggest part. You don't realize how much you walk and move when you're in an office setting, or I work in downtown Champaign and we're walking around and going everything, and now you're at a computer. And so every day it was like, okay, I started walking, and then it got to be, 50 days, it got to be 100 days. And then along comes the majorly created Jan Seeley with this Crisscross Challenge. And I was like, I'm in. And what I loved about it, not only the very cool swag, by the way, which I would be wearing today if it wasn't like 55 degrees, is I loved the fact that it held you accountable. It gave you a place to document, because I didn't really record my miles anywhere other than they were just on my watch. It gave you a chance to kind of see a community of people. And I loved seeing some people I knew from the Champaign-Urbana area, but seeing people from around Illinois, from other states, coming together for the sake of this running or walking. And then the guidebook was amazing. Like you, Jan, I've lived in Illinois for a long time, and there were so many places I hadn't seen. And watching yourself along the state, I was like, okay, I'm almost, gosh, I'm kind of near Kankakee area, but what town is that? I've never heard of that town. And then you could read about it, and then you kept going down. And then when you get into the southern part of the state, there was definitely a lot of places I hadn't heard from. So learning about the communities, which I hope now to either go and try to road trip after we are able to have a little bit more time to do this and go see some of the communities. So I think it provided accountability, and I think it provided a sense of community among runners and walkers to be able to come together for the challenge. So thank you for creating it. It was a blast to do.
Well, thank you for saying that. Good news about the guidebook. At 11:30 last night, we put the final touches on the last 24 towns in the North-South guidebook. It's done. Just waiting for my webmaster to post it onto the Crisscross website. And so then I will send an email out to all of our North-South participants. The last 24 towns were a blast. I will just say I've been profoundly moved by them. We ended in Caro, and that story is in some ways emblematic of our own recovery from the pandemic. I'll just leave it at that. Not to, when you get the guide, cut right to Caro. But yeah, I think your point about people coming together, one of the things that I loved, I knew that the teams would be a fun experience, but what I saw happening was old college roommates, siblings, family members scattered all across the US. I mean, I was banking that there would be genuine interest in this project based on the density of our regular Christi Clinic Illinois Marathon participants primarily living in the state of Illinois. I didn't expect we'd have participants from 35 states and 4 countries, but we do, and that's because that team component. And what I've heard over and over is how they're Zooming every weekend to share their mile totals, and the event has brought together friends and families in a way that I think has been very consoling, you know, any time, but especially in a time of a pandemic. But so anyway, so we're going to now, I think we're going to give control to Cory, who's going to screen share. So Sue, if you can press the magic button at your end to do that. And he's got some, now we're going to learn. I'm going to be quiet and hear what you guys have to say. Right now we can see your main desktop. So I think you just need to get your PowerPoint open. Okay.
Yep.
So let's hand it over to the experts. Go ahead, Cory.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And, you know, it's the state is such a, you know, it's such a unique state. And when I was state travel director, and I've known Jayne for many, many, many years prior to that, now being an advocate with her, a colleague on the DMO side, it's amazing how big our state is. And the tourism industry is, obviously people know Chicago well, but it's just not a Chicago industry, it's a statewide industry. And there's a lot of unique sites and communities, attractions, hidden gems around the state. So, you know, we put this list together. You know, us in the tourism industry, we don't do anything, we don't do a presentation without video or photos, right, Jayne? So we thought we'd start in my neck of the woods. You know, a lot of people know our river towns. Alton, Illinois is people know Alton, Illinois. It's like 20 minutes from downtown St. Louis. It's got some famous past history. From Robert Wadlow, the tallest man, was from Alton. Miles Davis from the area, but a lot of people don't realize a hidden gem that we have is Alton is very haunted. It's continuously been talked about as the most haunted small town in North America. Now, I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, so my husband will go do it, but I'm not doing it. But I will talk about it, and my staff has told me all about it. But we have several haunted tours that, when the pandemic hit, was very sad to see that. But all year round, we have shows, hit TV shows that film here. The paranormal is big. Many of our community, many of our buildings within the downtown are haunted, from unique restaurants. My Just Desserts. People will say that you drive by and you can see ghosts, a certain image appear in the window, the front of the building there on Broadway. Thankfully, we're not in a haunted building, my office, that I'm aware of yet, but we have several different ghost tours that are starting back up this summer, and they're going to be smaller groups, but the Mcpike Mansion that is on the screen here is probably one of the most haunted, that the paranormal and various groups say has the most activity of any building. And so we encourage you to come on over to Alton. Now, I'm going to try
to. A shiver just thinking about it. I'm a scaredy cat. I'm a scaredy cat with you, Cory.
Yes, I am as well.
Make sure you're with a group. We did a ghost tour when we did one of our state tourism meetings in Alton. And if I was just by myself or one other person, but there's safety in numbers. So.
All right. So you're verifying this is not made up. This is really true. It's haunted. Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. It's not a promotion gig. I promise you. Jayne knows. You know, this is an area, and this is an area. And I don't know if Jayne's been, but the Cache River in deep southern Illinois, around the Shawnee National Forest. I remember one day I was. It's a state natural resources oversees it. You know, when I visited this area and took pictures and sent them back to my friends, they were like, "Are you in Mississippi, the southern part of the country?" I said, "No, I'm in southern Illinois, south of Carbondale, the Cache River. There's a couple of outfitters there that will take you out." I got in my canoe one morning and just spent the whole morning. And I mean, it's you're amongst these cypress trees that have been there for hundreds of years. And it's really a unique destination, and you can either pick up guides, a couple of outfitters, or visit the Cache River State Natural Area Historic Department of Natural Resources. But it was formed back, I'm looking at my notes here, within a floodplain carved long ago by glacial floodwater of the Ohio River, and it kind of created this area. I'm telling you, the cypress trees are more than 40 feet in circumference, and my notes here from DNR site says more than 1,000 years old, these trees. It's spectacular. And again, you don't realize this area is in Illinois. If you go to Shawnee National Forest, which I didn't put on this list because people know about it, this is a must visit when you're in the region. And I discovered this during a couple of trips and took some people down during the solar eclipse, and they were just amazed at what was there. And we spent hours out on our canoes and had a great time.
You know, in several of the profiles that we just finished on the last 24 towns, we do mention this exact place. So there'll be some even more information because it's you know, it's either adjacent or exactly in some of the towns that we went through. So for the folks getting the north-south guide, there'll be a little bit more information. So second vote for this area from you, Cory. Great.
Great. Now, this image is from Cave-in Rock. Cave-in Rock is in Hardin County in southern Illinois. This is, I think this is really unique because you're looking out on the Ohio River. And, you know, this area was the earliest known settler, the first of its known where settlers arrived in this area. And they started to build near this area, and that's why it's called Cave-in Rock. It's in Hardin County, so you're really at the far bottom of the state. But just, you know, if the rivers flood, if we get a lot of flooding, that Cave-in Rock, that rock area has been flooded many a times. Mm-hmm. But it's just a really unique natural formation. There's a state park there that has some really unique cabins that look out on the Ohio River. It's called Cave-in Rock Lodge. It's a state DNR site that has a few cabins, but just a really picturesque area. This image that I provided was one that we used during a contest we had back when I was state travel director to find the most unique photograph spots in the state, and a gentleman sent this in. I really love this image.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Hard to believe that's in Illinois, honestly.
See, that's the thing. People have a perception and they think Illinois, and they either think Chicago or maybe corn. And there's just the natural resources here is just phenomenal, and something that I think we do tell that story, but not enough, because it's just, this rivals anything that you can go to in the United States.
I agree. I think Illinois ecologically is like 5 states combined, depending on where you are. You know, you couldn't, I mean, you know, Northern Illinois feels like Wisconsin, and Cairo feels like New Orleans, you know, so it has a Southern vibe in a Northern state when you're down there. So what's the nearest town to Cave-in Rock, Cory? Hardin? Mm-hmm. Okay. H-A-R-D-E-N?
Mm-hmm. H-A-R-D-I-N.
D-I-N. Okay, got it.
I'm still staying south. I thought we'd work our way from south to north. This is a gem. I bet most readers may not know about this image, and I'm going to get the name wrong. I'll call it Fort de Chartres. This was a French settlement. If I can get my screen right, I think people can still see it. But it was first built in 1720. This is along the Mississippi River, and because of all the flooding, it was used as an administrative center for the province. And but it was completed. It was completed in 17. It's described as a 1750s era French colonial architecture. It's still you can visit it today. It's in Randolph County, but it's right near Prairie du Rocher, Illinois, and it's in Randolph County along the Mississippi. And they do various festivals and events. But I would assume that most of your viewers that are participating today probably have not been to this location.
Mm-mm. Looks like I'm in France.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, I'm trying to see what our next slide is. Oh, I don't know if Jane wants to, or I can.
No, you keep talking. You're doing great.
Well, this is kind of an interesting story. I put the mailbox in, but this is in Casey, Illinois, which is not far from Champaign. Casey, Illinois, a gentleman, a small business owner there wanted to, downtown Casey was dying. It was a small rural town, and he was a pipe fitter, I believe, and he created all these big things, these Guinness Book of World Records. So Casey, Illinois, if you've been, is filled with large images. I could have put 12 or 13 different images up here. They've got the world's largest rocking chair. I think if you sat on the seat, which you can never get to unless you're hoisted up by a fire truck or a lift, it would. I think the seat alone is the equivalent of a 4-car garage wide. The mailbox there, I tried to find the picture the day I visited. You can actually, at the base of the mailbox, you can fill out a postcard and you can actually mail it up top in the mailbox. And the mailbox overlooks the entire downtown. They have the world's largest pencil, the world's largest wind chimes. That's what it started with. The world's largest teeter-totter, the world's largest golf tee. And the Guinness Book, I think, has recognized them for at least 8 or 10 world's largest. And they have several other. And what has happened, it's obviously made them a destination, and it has really saved their downtown and their community. There's been numerous businesses. There's been a few new lodging establishments opened in the downtown, coffee shops, retail, restaurant, all because of the world's largest items. And, it's great for the entire family to go visit, and centrally located in the state.
Cory, only because I've never heard of this town. I'm not hearing the exact name of, could you say and spell the name, please?
Casey, C-A-S-E-Y.
Okay, pronounced Casey, not Casey. Okay.
Yep. Casey, yep. Illinois.
It depends on where you're from.
Yeah, true, right? I grew up in the southern part of the state. And I'm just doing, I wanted to just double check again, Jan. I wanted to make sure how many. They have 12 world's largest.
Wow.
I was wrong. Awesome. 12. And they have their little, sorry, hold on. Our building is LEED certified, and if I don't move, my lights go out. Sorry about that.
We just see you start dancing in the middle of this.
But it's really cool. Big Things, Small Town, for all the viewers. Big Things, Small Town, Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, Illinois.
Got it. Is
You'll have
that
a
their
lot of
motto?
fun.
Is that their motto? Big Things, Small Town?
Big Things, Small Town, yes, yep.
Love it.
So think about that, Jan. What a way to recreate a town, as Cory said, that was dying. And you think about small towns, you think about areas, but it shows you the importance of tourism, right? In terms of people and traveling to that. You got to create a gimmick, and they did with these. And I haven't been, so this has actually been on my bucket list to get to Casey. So I'm looking forward to that, Cory.
The owner he's just a small town, born and raised, small business owner. Felt like he needed to save his community, and tourism was the way he did it. And now there are, some of the buildings, because of they've deteriorated, they've had to knock down, unfortunately, but he has placed some of these items on those empty lots. And not only does he place the items, the big things. He professionally landscapes them, makes them connects them all throughout the community. It's really a great, I mean, candy shops have opened, like I said, restaurants, coffee shops, overnight properties, places to stay. It's just been really fascinating. And this was it's not a town that's really close to any metropolitan area. It's about 45 minutes east of Effingham, 45 minutes to an hour east of Effingham, roughly, maybe an hour. But it's right off the interstate. So that was their way to get travelers, traveling, but never really stopping in Casey until Big Thing, Small Town.
Brilliant.
The state is, I love history and architecture and this, oops, I can't see the next two images. I've lost can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like a patio with a house kind of thing.
Yes, sorry. I thought I had the Frank Lloyd. So obviously the state's known for architecture, and Illinois has, most people know of Frank Lloyd Wright, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. But this is the Farnsworth House, and I don't know if many of your, Jan, have you heard of the Farnsworth House?
I've not.
Oh, good. I'm surprising you with some gems. Well, this is run and owned by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. It was designed and built by architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. And this was designed by, it was built by Edith Farnsworth, and it took 2 years to build. It's near Aurora in Plano, Illinois. And it's widely recognized as a studied structure from the 20th century. And students in the design space and the architecture space, this is like the mothership of where you visit for mid 20th century architecture. And they've hosted thousands and thousands of architectural students and professionals annually. This was a home that had fallen in disrepair before the National Trust purchased it, and now they also have a visitor center, and they do programming as well. And it's just, I've been to it a couple of times. I've been to a couple of events there, but then just toured it on my own, and it's really fascinating because just the architecture, you don't see this very often, this style of architecture, not in Illinois anyway. And this was on a farmland built for a family on a farm. And it's right near the Fox River in the Plano, Aurora area. So it's a must check out.
Can you tour? Do they have set hours then? Yes. That you can tour, I assume, because it's still okay. And then, but used for events as well. What a neat place to have a special event, a wedding, or a private dinner or something.
Yes, the visitor center takes. I was just looking. It's farnsworthhouse.org is where you can make reservations, but they do various. I don't know their schedule since the pandemic, but farnsworthhouse.org, and then our colleagues at the Aurora Convention and Visitor Bureau, this is in their network. I said Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright, obviously, people know Frank Lloyd Wright because of Chicago and Oak Park, and probably the Dana Thomas House in Springfield. The home here is in Rockford. Oops, sorry.
You had it. There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
This home is built for this is the only home that Frank Lloyd Wright designed for an individual who that would be wheelchair accessible. The owner was bound to a wheelchair all his life, and he and his wife had Frank Lloyd Wright design. And recently, the home has been purchased by a local group who has saved it and turned it into a functioning museum that you can. They give guided tours. They do special events too. It's the Laurent House. Laurent is Laurent, Laurent House.
Okay.
But this is in Rockford, Illinois. And again, what is so unique, Kenneth Laurent, the homeowner, had Frank Lloyd Wright design it for wheelchair accessibility. And that was the only property or only home he designed of this type in the country.
Wow.
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful home, beautiful. And our colleague with the Rockford Area Convention Visitor Bureau was a driving force behind saving this important piece of history because it was so unique to the design of itself. When you're in the home, you can tell that it was designed. Frank Lloyd Wright has you can tell his designs, his architectural viewpoint, and to see a home designed with his viewpoint, but also for someone that would be wheelchair accessible was pretty unique an experience to see. One more before I get to, I'm gonna let Jane do the next one, but Cahokia Mounds. Jan, have you heard of Cahokia Mounds?
And I've been there. Yay!
Oh, good. Okay. One time. Well, Cahokia Mounds is in Collinsville, Illinois. It's the only World Heritage UNESCO site in the Midwest, and people don't realize it's if you don't realize it's there, it's unfortunate. Over the years, it's starting to get some more knowledge and people paying attention to what's happening there. But it is a state-run site by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the Historic Preservation Agency, but we're also working on, I represent this site, we're also working to see if it can become a National Park Service site. There's been some effort underway over the past year and a half to make this a National Park Service site, but it's, it has a great visitor center where you can learn all about educate yourself, prehistoric. Yes, sorry, thank you. But just being able to walk out on the mounds and the property, but it's got a fantastic education center and museum that you can learn about the history of the site. And this was one of the largest civilizations, prehistoric civilizations anywhere in, and I was trying to look anywhere in, I want to say the northern pre-Columbian Native American city. And so it was one of the largest, and obviously it sits right near the Mississippi, as you can see, and right directly across the river from St. Louis. But it's a must visit. It has a lot of great history, and a lot of people don't realize it exists. So that's why I wanted to put it on the list.
I've been to the Mayan ruins in the Yucatan, and I immediately thought of that, seeing that picture of that.
Right here in Illinois.
Who would think? And
Yeah.
here, who would imagine in the middle of cornfields that we would have reindeer? No, these are not stuffed reindeer, and these are not fake reindeer. These are true great Alaskan reindeer that are right here in our backyard. And when people talk about, ways that you build a destination, Julie and Mark Hardy, who were the owners of this place, had a farm and it was struggling a little bit. And they were the ones that they were very creative in trying to think about how they could make this a place where people could come see them. And it's funny when you talk about reindeer, because people have this assumption of reindeer and Santa and that kind of thing. But the beauty of these animals, and what's great about this is that not only can you, when you go to the reindeer ranch, do you see them from afar, you can get up close and personal, and we have what's called the reindeer kiss experience. And so you have to put that on your bucket list. Jan, have you kissed a reindeer yet?
No, but I've kissed a stingray. Does that count?
It does count, but now
It was supposed to bring me 7 years of good luck, but it didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But
Is this in Rantoul?
This is in Rantoul, yeah. So it's just right up the road, and it's open, you know, well, we'll see with the pandemic, but it's open July through December. And what's great about it is that what they do is give you a graham cracker. And so you have a graham cracker in your mouth, and then the reindeer will come up, and you don't actually really make out with the reindeer, but it is kind of fun to be able to have this. And there's some just amazing pictures of people who have kissed a reindeer. So we always say that should be added to the bucket list. And not only seeing the reindeer, they do have little cart races. They have where you can pumpkin chunkin', where you can chunk pumpkins. They've got a playground area, and then they have this event hall that you can see in this picture where they do old-fashioned barbecues, and it's a great special events place too. But it's really fun when you look through and you flip through the visitor's guide, because people, when you think of Champaign-Urbana, you're going to think of the University of Illinois first and foremost, and you think of sporting events, and you think of the Christie Clinic Illinois Marathon, of course. You don't think of reindeer. And a special thing we just found out is that Jingles, who is one of the reindeer at the ranch, is making his TV debut. He's been filmed and will be in a holiday movie that's going to come out in the upcoming holidays. So Jingles from the Reindeer Ranch, when you see him, you'll know he came from the Reindeer Ranch in Rantoul, Illinois.
That's awesome.
Reindeer kiss.
Always got to
Jan, as Jane said, you know, this is again I think a unique agritourism product where farm families for generations, the new generation is looking to diversify, looking to grow market, and here was this has been a very successful agritourism destination in our state, and really agritourism is all throughout Illinois, from the Chicago suburbs to the bottom of the state. So it's really unique out there. Too, another agritourism, I think agritourism that has just exploded. I bet you didn't know that Illinois was home to 38 distilleries. You think about, I know we probably not, but I think these would be hidden gems. The 38 distilleries are all around the state. Where I like to go to get, I like to travel for craft food and beer and spirits. But distilleries, I mean, we know how to grow corn and soybeans, and many of our distilleries are second, third generation farm families that have been very successful in this business, and a great resource to find out where they're located is the www.distillerytrail.com. There you can learn where they're located across the state. I have a couple in my region. Jane, you've got a couple, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, several.
Just amazing how they're growing, and obviously the craft beer scene exploded a few years prior, but there are so many distilleries in the state, and again, I consider it an agritourism product because they're thinking a little differently and expanding and using their product that they've grown for years on their farm into new directions with craft spirits.
Well, it would be remiss in not taking this opportunity to call out Riggs Beer Company, which is one of our great sponsors here in Champaign-Urbana. And Cory, you probably don't know this, but a couple of years ago, Matt and his brother Darren started making a special beer for race weekend called Illinois Kolsch, where everything is sourced from local grain. They grew it all. Their parents own the dairy barn. They have where they're located. They've got their own fields, and I think Matt told me that It's like the only beer, a distilled beer, where everything came and was grown locally. And so that's a real feather in our cap. And
That's neat.
yeah, they're a big part of our post race. We're missing them and all of our great sponsors, of course. So, but just wanted to throw that in.
That's
So
great.
Cory, when you come to either run or the marathon or half marathon, 10K, 5K, when you come to Champaign and do that, then we'll serve you Riggs beer afterwards, because every walker gets a free beer from Riggs beer at the 27th mile or the 4th mile on Friday night. So we're
That's
looking forward to having it again.
We'll have to card you, but I think you're over 18, 21. I guess it's 21.
I'll do the 5K.
And you can walk. You don't need to run.
Okay.
We'll do the 5K together, Cory, and then have a beer.
I love it. Jane, I'm gonna let you talk about Amish Country.
Yeah.
Yes, so just south of us, about 40 minutes in the Arthur area, is Amish Country. And the beauty of this area has been the fact that the Amish and the non-Amish in the area have really partnered together to appreciate truly the Amish culture. So often people have a little bit of like intrigue. They don't necessarily know the etiquette. They start to take pictures. And this area has done a really good job of the Amish, the families themselves, and for many generations, teaching people to be able to appreciate what their culture is like. And in fact, in this area, they're building a heritage center that people will be able to come and experience Amish culture without invading on the privacy by snapping photos when you would see people coming by without their permission. So it's a terrific area. Also included with the Amish is the Great Pumpkin Patch, and that's been just a phenomenal, or I think you may have a picture of that actually. I can't remember, no? Not today, okay. So that's all in the same area, so you can have Amish and then the Great Pumpkin Patch as well too. So both of them, I think what we like about this is the fact that you have this opportunity for participants. They can run in the area, you can walk in the area, but you can also then stroll within the stores, finding Amish goods. You can, of course, the tremendous bakeries. And then my favorite thing is the Amish families who do open their home to a true Amish dinner. And you can be able to see what it's like to live the Amish lifestyle, to be Amish and what it looks like. It's a very well-traveled area, and we're very proud to have that in our community.
And those towns, again, that you're talking about would be?
So Arthur is the main one, but you'd have Arcola that is right around there as well too. You have Tuscola that is kind of makes up the area. Sullivan are the big ones in that. So it's kind of these gems where you kind of get south of Champaign-Urbana, and until you get a little bit further down, you may not think that there's as much to see and do because there is a lot of cornfields in that area. And these are tucked away and well worth the visit.
Yeah, two of those towns that you mentioned are covered. We go through them on the north-south route, Arcola and Tuscola. And so we did also, provide some information about that Amish community. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Awesome. Got anything else? Yeah, a few more.
I'll just quickly talk about, this is not we have over Illinois is known for wine. That was probably on Illinois wineries started exploding before 1997, and then craft beer and craft spirits. But I don't know if people know there are over 100 wineries, more than 100 wineries throughout the state right now, and they're dotted all throughout Illinois. There are various wine trails from the Shawnee Hills wine trail to the Northern Illinois wine trail, but probably to some listeners or viewers, wineries are hidden gems throughout the state, and again, a great agritourism product.
I love this term. I hadn't heard it before, agritourism, because as somebody who's done these guides with Tina, we've followed how the creation of these towns paralleled the expansion of the Illinois Central Railroad. And then as that changed, we saw a decline of these towns. So that sort of need to reinvent yourself and to stay with the times, that's where that agribusiness comes in, isn't it? Agritourism, doesn't it, Cory?
Absolutely. And, I think small towns, more rural, less urban are benefiting. If there's I hate to say that if there's a winner in COVID, But now people can work from anywhere. Your remote work is not going anywhere, and people like open spaces and active lifestyles, whether they can hike, bike, run, walk, kayak, canoe, etc. I think you'll see a lot more of that type of lifestyle or livability surface to the top in this post-pandemic world. We got our last one. This is a hidden gem, I think. I've been here a couple times, Jane.
So in Arcola, so if you want to visit Amish Country, right down the road, there used to be a place that was called Rockhold Gardens and was known for its kind of rock formations, and they served a nice meal, and eventually it didn't make it. And instead of being developed into, they couldn't figure out what to do with this area. And so a gentleman came to town, in fact, as a family, and went to the village board and said, we want to create a wildlife reserve. And people thought they were nuts. This is, I mean, literally in the middle of not a lot of places in Arcola, Illinois. And so hence Aikman Wildlife Reserve was created. And so on the northern end of our area, you have reindeer. On the southern end of our area, you have camels, you have zebra, you have bison. And it's just really, this family has worked so hard to make it just a really neat experience. You can do a drive-through on your own. You can do a wagon tour post-COVID and be able to go through on that way, which is what I did. And these animals are very, I don't want to say you want to take them home and make them a pet, but they're definitely very friendly in terms of when people come to visit. And then they have a private behind the scenes tour where you can get up close with a lot of different kind of animals and see them. And it's truly exotic animals. And so Aikman Wildlife Reserve in Arcola, it's a wonderful place, wonderful family run. And they've even got a historic barn that they have renovated and using now for weddings. So if you want to get married with zebras and camels, you've got that opportunity, or just to have a fun outing for groups, individuals, or families. So it's really, really a great place.
Yeah, well, that's fabulous. Hey, Sue, have we had any questions submitted?
We've had some nice comments. Somebody's ready to go on a long distance pub distillery wine tour.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Somebody mentioned that they were in KZ a few years ago and it was a great stop. I'm actually trying to figure out when to go there right now because that's awesome.
Okay.
Somebody asked if there is a book of all these attractions, and if there is, how can we get our hands on one? I know there's some Discover Illinois type books. I'll let Jane or Cory answer this.
We lost Cory. Hey, Cory, you still there?
Here, can you hear me?
We can hear
you. We can't see you.
Yeah.
Oh, there I am.
There he is.
Yeah, go ahead, Jane.
I think just enjoyillinois.com. It's a tourism site. Okay. And it's a really great way to find a lot of these places, and it's done by region. So you can click on, if you want a region in whatever part of Illinois, it also includes itineraries. One of the things that we have learned during the pandemic is driving itineraries, and we did a kind of a thing that worked so that people would go throughout the entire state and work through our different communities. So we partner really well together, but enjoyillinois.com is the best way. It's a state tourism site, and they continue to update it. But the itineraries, if you're interested in the wine, they'll have that on there. If you're interested in family adventures, they've got that on there. Biking adventures, there's just a little bit, and definitely history. There's always a lot of historical adventures too. So
yeah, I mean, and that circles us back to the guidebooks. I mean, people, you have guidebooks with 34 towns from west to east and 74 from north to south, and we cover, not just what this town, city, or village is known for, but what to do while you're there, and unique events and facts. So you want to have a book, you got a book about some places. But gosh, Jane and Cory, this has been a blast. Yeah. I knew it would. Sue, you got another question?
I have one more. Somebody asked, where would one go to rent a canoe to go canoeing in the Cache River area?
Oh, there's an outfitter's place.
In the state park?
I would go to southernmost, I would Google southernmost convention and visitor bureau.
Okay.
The outfitters, the gentleman's name is slipping me, but there are a couple of outfitters there right now that are
It's in the
working.
guidebook. It's in the, when you get your north-south guidebook later today or tomorrow morning, depending on when I can send the email, there's it's called the something outfitters. And that's where you go to get your canoes to get into that river. So we got you covered, who's ever asked that question, in the guide. That's part of your crisscross experience. Well, that's going to wrap up this webinar. It was a blast. Now, our next webinar, as I said, is going to be March 30th. Now, I'm going to attempt to do this. So if you get here in 3 weeks and we've changed pitch, it's because it didn't pull off. But I want to get a field report from some of our crisscross participants across the U.S. I'm going to have to see if I can survey, see who wants to be on with me. I want to hear what your experience has been like, what unique things you've discovered. Did you do anything unique with the leaderboard, that virtual leaderboard that Jayne referenced? So we're going to attempt to have some participants on with us 3 weeks from today. So Sue, Cory, Jayne, thank you so much. And to all of you who listened, I'll make sure I get a list of the places that Jayne and Cory spoke about. So when I send out an email with the link to the video, which will be posted to the Illinois Marathon YouTube site, you will know what's in there. So again, thank you to everybody. It was just a blast.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day.
Happy trails.
You bet.